Falls High School at North 80 West 14350, Titan Drive, Menomonee Falls, Wisconsin 53051 in the auditorium. This meeting will be broadcast by Falls Cable Access and can be viewed live on the Falls Cable Access YouTube channel. To watch a later viewing of the recorded meeting, please visit our website, www.fallsschools.org/record. Let's please rise to the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, this is being properly posted. Thank you. So I'm going to turn the meeting over to Caitlin to give her annual budget.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Good evening, everybody. My name is Caitlin Lunar. I am our Director of Finance and Operations. Thank you for joining us here tonight. The annual budget hearing is an important part of our budget process, and we're excited to welcome all of you tonight. Our agenda for this evening will start with the key factors in this year's financial results. We'll talk about transparency and accountability. We'll celebrate some items, budget strategy, and cost control measures that we've taken throughout the years. We'll review 21-22's budget and where we stand at the end of that fiscal year, and we'll also talk through 22-23's budget in terms of goals and priorities, budget planning, and budget priorities. So we've gathered from years of hearing community feedback at our annual meeting, at our board meetings, and throughout our most recent referendum. We've gathered some community expectations that we've prioritized and listed here. So prioritizing a safe environment for staff and students is always our number one priority. Living within our means and demonstrating fiscal responsibility is something that we'll touch on frequently tonight through our revenue limit, which is the way that school districts receive their revenue. We'll talk through the way in which we prioritize compensation benefits for staff. We know it's very tight labor market right now, so that's important for us to attract and retain our quality staff. We always are demonstrating our efficient and effective operations, which again we'll talk through in detail some of those ways that we do that here tonight. And then making sure that we're always clear and transparent and keeping the community informed. Those are some of our expectations within our community. We start each of our board finance committee meetings with this item. This is our key accountability calendar, and this is one of the ways in which we hold ourselves to this transparency and accountability standard. These are some of the items that we review both within our committee meeting, within the full board meeting, and just within our leadership meetings throughout the year. So you can see those various items, including school safety and security. We talk through fiscal year projections. We report on our self-funded health insurance plan performance. We review board reviews each board meeting, the voucher payments that are made, etc. So this is an item that we review frequently within each board finance committee meeting. And the second half of that document actually goes into detail on the budget. So there's tiny items throughout the year as we develop our budget that we have people count projections or we review staffing, things like that. So those specific items will really get into detail on a number of them throughout the year, both in our board finance committee meetings and within our full board meetings. This item here is our budget calendar. So if you have the QR code in front of you, or you scan it on the way in, or if you have a paper packet, there's a budget packet as part of those materials tonight. And one of those is on page 3 is the budget calendar. So we have a very similar calendar year to year. The budget is cyclical, so we do the same things each year. You can see the different actions that are taken, different projections that are made, assumptions that are made, and then when those assumptions actually firm up into actuals. So where we're at right now is September is actually the end of our budget cycle, budget process. We, in October, get a lot of our final items finalized, so things like our equalized property value, our enrollment projections. Those are all firmed up in October, which is why then the board at the end of October takes action to approve the final budget. So we'll talk through some of our celebrations, one of which is that we're always looking for years up, whenever budget planning, just for the current year, it's important that we're always looking ahead and thinking long term. So we've done it historically, and we'll continue to do that into our future, which is really put us in a good position for financial stability, even with some of the wonkiness that's going on with funding in our current state biennial budget. We can manage operations effectively, so our general fund, our food service fund, and our community service fund are all ending with a positive variance at the end of 21-22. And I should note that the budget is still in 21-22, it is unaudited. So we're still wrapping up year end, we do that at the end of September. And then once we wrap everything up, our board meetings are final audit, and at that point is when the numbers become audited. So right now we're still reporting on our unaudited data. We continue to have a clean audit opinion, which in technical terms is called an unqualified opinion, which is the best type of audit opinion that you can have from an auditor. And I would say most importantly on this list is that our school district reports has exceeded expectations on the PPS school report card. Some of our facility celebrations, just being here for a few months started in July, and I am so impressed at our facilities team. It is clear that they take pride in our buildings and really work to maintain and extend their useful lives. There's a number of kind of different types of facilities projects going on. So there's, of course, the annual maintenance, or making sure HVAC and our current services and our roofs, etc., are being attended to per their schedule. We also have a number of summer projects that go on, as you can imagine, and then planned projects that are larger projects throughout the year. So the first two pictures on this slide here are some of those summer projects that deep cleaning, so curbside cafeteria. We have the benefit of music room up here, so they have, their phones cleaned extensively. They also got a fresh coat of paint in the music room. The picture on the far right is the Valley View dumpster, which is not flashy, but I actually love this one because this came naturally through the safety committee. So the safety committee is made up of staff members, some of our leadership team is on that committee, and our insurance reps are on that committee as well for workers' comp insurance. And as part of this, we do a walkthrough within each building, and the committee notices, what is the next accident? What can we avoid? And so the committee realized that the Valley View dumpster might potentially pose as a hazard for students as it was close to the playground. So our facilities team kind of took that feedback and said, we can move this. They added this concrete slab and moved the dumpster. So not flashy, but I just love that it kind of it was born out of this safety committee, and the facilities team saw it through. We have this summer, the Shady Lane bus lane was redone, so we have the new curb, the asphalt, and that's actually district property, it's not village property. So that's awesome for our bus drivers and our bus riders. At North Middle School, the choir room had sound panels go up, so it previously had sound panels on the ceiling. Sound panels were added to the walls, so the acoustics in there are pretty great now. And then on the far right is the high school culinary lab. So this went, I would say, from drab to fab. The culinary lab now is really awesome. It truly prepares students for the next step if they're actually moving into a culinary program. Actually restaurant grade equipment in that room now. So that is really awesome for our high school students. And then a few in terms of athletics. So our high school soccer site, the bleachers were flipped. We now have, it's fully ADA accessible. We have a new walking path that was made and concrete was poured, so that's the high school soccer site saw some improvements this summer. The high school concessions building we had plumbing installed, electricity, a couple windows, so now that is a fully functional concessions building. And then on the far right, you're seeing the new discus pad. So for our track and field athletes, we have a second discus pad that has been added. Our budget context and strategy, this is where we get really into the fun here. So the state works on a 21-23 biennial budget. They work on a 2-year budget cycle. So we're currently in the second year, we're moving into the second year of the state biennial budget. And I just wanted to talk, I thought, pictures are worth 1,000 words, and I think this graph is as well. So just a little bit of history on what revenue limits are and what the revenue increases or lack of increases that we talk about, what they actually mean. So in this graph, you're seeing it starts back into 1993, which is when revenue limits were enacted in the state of Wisconsin. And when they were enacted, they had it was set that the increases in per pupil funding were tied to the increases of inflation, or we use the acronym CPI for Consumer Price Index. So the increase in per pupil amounts were the same as the increase in inflation. And you can see the red and the blue line are one and the same. The red line on this graph is the funding of inflation, or CPI, and the blue line was the funding adjustment of the increase in the per pupil amount. So as we go through for a number of years, the two lines are one and the same. The increase in inflation was the same as the increase in the dollar amount per pupil within the revenue limit. In 2008, when the recession hit, that started to get a little wonky, so they were no longer tied to each other. And then with Act 10 in 2011, you can see that number went way down. So that blue line there is showing the decrease in the per pupil allotment that school districts received within the revenue limit in 2011. And ever since 2008, those two lines have been far from the same. The blue line is every which way, and inflation continues to increase. On the far right of that graph, you're seeing that blue line as a flat $0 increase for 2 years in a row. So that is reflective of our 21-23 biennial budget, where there was no per pupil allocation increase within the revenue limit formula. And just I like to keep it big picture, high level, the revenue limit formula is the calculation that we as school districts use from the state of Wisconsin that dictates how much revenue that a school district receives from property taxes and from state aid. So this revenue limit formula as a whole is dictated by our per pupil allocation, and this graph then shows the increases over time of the per pupil allocation. The state legislature decided to do the 2 years of $0 increase in the per pupil funding because school districts were receiving their COVID relief funding. Those funds are called ESSER, or Elementary and Secondary Emergency Relief Funds. So we received a significant chunk of ESSER funding, and so the state legislature decided with the ESSER funding that school districts are receiving, we're going to keep that at $0. So therefore, we are utilizing our ESSER funds as budget stabilization. It should be noted, though, that ESSER funds are one-time funds, so those run out at the end of the 23-24 school year. We do have contingency plans in place for when those run out. However, looking long-term to the future, it's important that we work with our state legislators in understanding, back to that graph, that those two lines are getting farther and farther apart, the inflation line and our per pupil allocation line, if we don't do something about increasing the state funding once the ESSER funds run out. And then back to our context and strategy, we're always intentional and conservative in projecting both future revenues and expenditures. We continue to utilize a long-term budget planning approach, which has put us in really great financial shape. And we have realized significant financial benefits of cost control strategies. So I'll get into detail on the next slide about those. And as such, we're well positioned to react to potential limits in state funding that will impact future years. I would say this slide is probably my favorite because it's very impressive. Our cost control strategies over the years have saved us millions of dollars. So the first on this slide is the debt refinancing savings. We, over the years, have refinanced our debt a number of times, and since 2006 have saved over $4 million directly into taxpayer savings. So that would be referendum debt that was previously incurred that was refinanced, and therefore when it's refinanced, those savings go directly to taxpayers. In January of 2021, we refinanced again and saw another additional savings of interest in $500,000. So a significant improvement for our debt savings for our taxpayers. We've also eliminated the need to cash flow borrow. So school districts receive revenue in a few big chunks throughout the year, but their expenses are very frequent. So the expenses are weekly, we're paying invoices weekly, we have payroll twice a month, so our expenses are on a regular calendar, but the revenue only comes in a few big chunks throughout the year. Therefore, it's important for us to have enough cash on hand so when we reach our low point before we get our first property tax payment, that we don't have to short-term borrow. When we short-term borrow for cash flow purposes, anytime you borrow, there's an additional interest cost associated with that. So avoiding that borrowing allows us to save what we would have paid on interest. So we've eliminated the need to short-term borrow for cash flow purposes. Also, we'll talk in a little bit more depth at the end of this presentation that our projected tax levy and tax mill rate will be going down from 21-22 to 22-23. We've seen an energy cost reduction and avoidance of over $9.6 million. That's credit due to our facilities team in the work that they've done in that area. And finally, our self-funded health insurance has performed below market trend for the last few years. So market trend has been somewhere in the range of 10 to 15%, and we've been well below that. And that's due to both our plan design and the consumerism on behalf of our employees and members. So moving into the 21-22 budget recap, Our budget was planned as an intentional deficit of about $300,000, and that was simply to utilize carryover funds from the prior year. And where we're coming in at as actuals, and again, these are unaudited numbers because we're still finalizing and wrapping up year end, so going through our audit, but we're looking at an actual ending of a positive variance of about $30,000. So that's really great news for our school district, and we no longer have to be pumping money into our fund balance, as I'll show you a fund balance graph in a few slides here, that just small increases are really impactful and helpful for maintaining where we're at financially. At the end of the year, when we kind of look to see where we're going to end, we kind of look to see then where we're ending in each category. So we look at salary and wage benefits. We actually had very accurate budgeting in that field because $44,000 is the variance, which is very close to, honestly close to zero. So in a large budget, that's very accurate budgeting. We have some contingency within our health and wellness benefit plans. We also had a larger contingency within our general fund transfer to Fund 27. So we work on a fund basis. The general fund is our Fund 10. Each year we have to make a transfer from Fund 10 to Fund 27, which is our special education fund. And that transfer had some contingency remaining in the 21-22 year. And then some of our other contingencies add up to that total reconciliation of budget to actual that you're seeing there of a little over $330,000. Which results ultimately in the amount added to our district general fund balance of about $30,000. And this graph kind of just puts all of that into a visual for us. So fund balance, I should start by saying, is not a cash account. It's our equity, so it's our assets minus our liabilities, and this 32.6% is where we're at now, which is a really healthy place for a school district to be. Bond rating agencies have the best in class for school districts with a fund balance of about 25%, so ours is above that, but you can see because we've met that threshold, the bar graph is starting to level off, which is intentional. We no longer have to have large contingencies or surpluses at the end of the year to bring our fund balance up. We're in a really strong place, and having a strong fund balance improves and helps maintain our high credit rating, which is important if we borrow in the future. A high credit rating results in lower interest. So as a school district, we work on fund accounting. So all of our activities are in different funds and have to be kept separate per statute based on what activities they are. So our Fund 10 is our general fund. So whenever we talk about our budget, generally we're talking about our general fund or Fund 10. Fund 21 is our student activities funds and our gifts funds. And we saw revenues and expenses within that fund as slightly higher than last year. Fund 27 is our special education fund. So last year we used some carryover to reduce expenses there. We were back in line in 21-22 with where we're normally at with our Fund 27. So no surprises within Fund 27. In Fund 38, this is our non-referendum debt fund. We just had planned principal and interest payments. In Fund 39, that's our referendum debt fund, which we talked a little bit about, that we refinanced in January of 2021. And so we saw a savings of over $500,000 in current and future debt payments there. The Fund 40s, 41 and 49, that's where when we had our referendum projects, that's where all of those activities went through. So those finished last year, and thus there's no activity in the current year for our capital projects funds. Fund 50 is our food service fund, so again, has to be kept separate from our general operating budget. We ended the 21-22 school year with a large positive variance, and that revenue was enhanced by federal revenue. So if you recall, we had free breakfast and free lunch for all of our students in 21-22. That was a federal program that was extended due to COVID, and when we had a greater participation, we also had greater revenues coming in. So in Fund 50, again, we can't keep that. The money has to be kept separate. We can't use that within our classrooms. So therefore, we'll talk in a few slides again about how we're going to be utilizing that $780,000 in order to help students eat free breakfast in 22-23. In Fund 73, this is our OPEB trust fund. OPEB is other post-employment benefits. We have these funds held in a trust for future use and have fully satisfied the current retiree benefit as of August 31st, 2021. And finally, last but not least, our Fund 80 is our community service fund. So this is where all of our CE and REC programming takes place. We had strong participation, which is really great, within our CE and REC programs and generated a positive variance of about $57,000 at the end of 21-22. So we'll move into now the 22-23 budget summary. Again, there is a packet that is linked with the QR code, or if you picked up a paper copy on the handout table as you are coming in. This booklet is linked within there and has a table of contents with a lot more budget detail that we'll get into. We won't get into all of the weeds here tonight, but it is important to note that on page 4 of that budget document, that's what the board approved. So that's the prelim budget that we're actually reviewing tonight. That the budget that the board approved is on page 4 of that document. As we work through our budget, we keep in mind that community feedback that we talked through earlier, and then also prioritize these items as we build our budget. So improving student achievement and staff performance with continuous improvement focus in all divisions and levels, ensuring appropriate class size ratios and prioritizing student programming for successful college and career transitions, sustaining efficient and effective operations in all divisions and levels, focusing resources on strategic improvement priorities, and safeguarding taxpayers' investment through high organizational performance. This next slide is our annual budget timeline. So we referenced earlier that budget calendar. This is kind of just a higher level of that. So in the summer, we're wrapping up our fiscal year. We're still doing that now into September. And then in October is when we receive our final year-end information to finalize the budget. So we firm up our equalized property values, we firm up our pupil count, et cetera. So those final factors that we need for the budget to move in from the prelim state to the approved state. So in the end of October is when our board approves our final budget for the 22-23 fiscal year, and then we get right back to work. So it's safe to say that budget season never really ends. In the 22-23 budget highlights within our general operating budget, some of the key budget adjustments from 21-22 to 22-23 are reflected on page 16 of the budget packet. The 21-23 state biennial budget provided a state aid increase, but no revenue limit increase. So when the state aid, what the state aid increase does is reduce property taxes, it's property tax relief, but it does not provide additional revenue to the district. So the way that school district revenue limits work is that the revenue limit is a calculation, and then we get told from the state what our state aid is. So we get our total revenue limit, we subtract out our state aid, and the remainder of that is our general fund property tax. So when the state aid increased, it decreased property taxes, but it did not give our district more additional revenue. For the 21-23 fiscal years, the legislature substituted the federal COVID relief funds, the ESSER funds that we've talked about, for what would normally be funding increases from the state. So that page 17 of that packet, which I'll show a snippet in the next slide here, is a summary of the federal ESSER funds that have been allocated to the school district of Menomonee Falls. You can see the total is about 4.7 million, so definitely a large number of one-time revenue, but again, it's one-time revenue, so we have made contingency plans for the different factors, the different scenarios that if the state budget does or does not put additional revenue into the per pupil funding formula within the revenue limit, when these funds run out, we have some contingency plans in place to keep our operations moving forward. And the DPI has a lot of information if you're interested in learning more about ESSER on their website. So I have a link here. You can type that in, or you truly just Google DPI ESSER, and there is more information than you could ever want to know. ESSER came in a number of different waves. So there's ESSER 1, ESSER 2, ESSER 3, and then even within those, there's different allocation amounts and different ways that those dollars can be spent within each of those various allocations. So all of that information is out on the DPI's website. We encourage you to take a look if you are interested in learning more about ESSER. The next slide here is our budget scorecard. So these are basically the main differences that happen from one year to the next, from the 21-22 budget to the 22-23 budget. This is a living document. This is part of our discussions within leadership team, within a board committee, and board meetings. And then moving on to some of our other funds, Fund 50, as we talked about our school nutrition fund, that large fund balance, that increase to fund balance that we saw at the end of the 21-22 school year, a portion of those funds are going to allow all students in our school district to have free breakfast in 22-23. So kind of a one-year program, self-funded, so it's simply because our fund balance in Fund 50 is large at the end of 21-22, and we have to put those dollars right back into fund balance. They can't go into classrooms. Trust me, I have asked a number of times if we can fund our culinary classroom in our high school with those funds. We cannot. So take that up with the state legislator, but those funds we're putting back into our food service programming and offering free breakfast for all of our students in 22-23. And then within Fund 80, we have a budget increase, a tax levy increase of $25,000 to offset increased labor and programming costs. Of course, we know it's a tight labor market, so we need to remain competitive so that we can actually keep those programs going. So we have a few graphs here on the breakdown of our revenues and our expenses. So the revenue graph here, majority of our revenue comes from state and local sources. So again, to tie this to the big picture, our revenue limit formula is just a calculation that tells us how much revenue as a school district we get to receive from property taxes and state aid. In mid-October, the state tells us how much state equalization aid we're getting. So we take our total revenue limit, subtract out our aid, and the rest is our property tax levy. So that share that comes from the state as a percentage, where it is 32% this year. Last year was 26% of our revenue. So our state aid increased, and therefore our local property taxes decreased as a percentage of our overall revenue. So property taxes last year were 67% of our revenue, and this year they're 59%. So this is another visual, a way to understand how when school districts receive more aid, it didn't increase the size of the pot, the size of the circle or the pie. It just increased that piece of the pie, and then the other piece of the pie, the local property taxes, decreased. So when we hear that the state provided more aid for school districts, again, it's not additional revenue, it's just decreasing one piece of the pie and increasing the other piece of the pie. A breakdown of our expenditures within our general operating fund and our special education fund show this is a very normal looking graph for school districts. 70% of our total expenditures within Fund 10 and 27 come from salaries and benefits. So this is very normal within school districts. And then our overall expenditures by fund, our majority of our operations are within the general fund. That's 75% of our total expenditures within all of our funds. Next is special education at 13%, and then we have debt service at 6%, community service at 4%, and food service at 2%. Our tax levy by fund, our overall tax levy is majority general fund. Then we have our debt service fund, and our community service fund is a smaller chunk. And just kind of a similar information in a different format, this graph shows our property tax levy over time. So a few things to note: you can see the total tax levy as a whole. So the top of that bar graph is going down, has gone down over the last few years. Another thing to note is the red part of that graph, which is the debt service fund, has decreased from last year to 22-23. So from the 21-22 graph to the 22-23 graph, that red chunk has decreased by about $1 million, which really just means that's $1 million of tax levy savings for our taxpayers, and that is due to our refinancing. To get into some detail on our tax levy and mill rate in terms of numbers, when we get our total tax levy, the math that happens behind the scenes then is we take the total tax levy divided by our equalized value, all of the equalized value in our municipality, and we calculate our mill rate. So our tax mill rate is the amount of money that a homeowner will pay or a property taxpayer will pay per $1,000 of property tax value. So our tax mill rate is projected to decrease from $8.22 from last year to $7.81 this year, and that's a 5% decrease. And actually the same thing with our total overall tax levy. It's projected to decrease by 5% from last year to this year as well. A few graphs to kind of put that into perspective. What does that actually mean for a home that's valued at $250,000? We did the math, and you can see what that looks like. It's just a slight decrease over the last few years. And the next slide, or the next graph on the right, shows the tax levy and the mill rate kind of stacked on top of each other. So both have seen a slight decrease over the last few years as well. This question has come up a number of times, and it's just something that's really goofy with the way that school districts and municipalities have to distribute their tax levy. We are required by statute to use the equalized property valuation. That's the Department of Revenue fair market value. We calculate our tax rate based on the equalized value of a property, and then we give that to the municipalities. The municipalities then take that and have to distribute that based on the assessed valuation of a homeowner. So it's just something that's goofy within state statute that we just work on kind of those two different numbers. So if you're taking these numbers and looking at your property tax bill and saying they don't exactly match up, this is why. So just to wrap up here tonight, we have some takeaways for future budget planning. The 23-25, again, the state budget works on a 2-year cycle, and it's always the odd year. So the 23-25 state biennial budget funding levels are still unknown at this time, and we've developed contingency plans to address potential future state funding shortfalls. Investment and per pupil increases from the state are needed to align revenues with inflationary trends after 2 years of $0 revenue limit increases, 21-22 and 22-23, and the end of ESSER, so the one-time ESSER funding. Finally, we will continue to be intentional and conservative in projecting both future revenues and expenditures. We will continue to utilize a long-term budget planning approach, so we're always looking ahead, never just focusing on the year in front of us. We have realized significant financial benefits of previous cost control strategies, and of course, we will continue to seek opportunities to create efficiencies and operations to control costs. And with that, I want to thank you for being invested in the Menomonee Falls School District and being here tonight.
Thank you, Caitlin. At this time, I would like to extend an invitation for questions or statements from audience members. Please step up to the podium when called on and identify yourself by giving your name and the nature of the budget topic to be discussed. This is a public hearing, and comments will be limited to topics regarding the annual budget. Comments will be limited to 2 minutes. Thank you. Oh, do you have one?
I don't know where to turn.
You can step up to the green microphone.
Do you want my form, Kim?
That's fine.
Hi, I'm Kathy Oleg. I live at N77 W15424 Crossway Drive. I just have a few questions. What are your plans to utilize the OPEB trust funds? I'd also like to raise a concern about EA compensation and special ed EA compensation. What are you doing to hire and, most importantly, retain current EAs? And then I'd also like to point out that there's no Friend of Education and there's no Distinguished Service Award on any agenda for this evening, which I find to be unfortunate since these awards have been in place since 1989 and 2002. There's a lot of great community members and who do a lot for our schools, and I think it's too bad that they're not being recognized tonight, especially with such a large crowd. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the questions. So the first question was, what are the plans to utilize the trust funds, the OPEB trust funds that are held in Fund 73? That's a fantastic question, and right now they're just in the trust earning interest. So that'll be a future board discussion item. It'll multiple committee discussions, and then eventually it would go to the full board for discussion and then action at a future meeting. What are you doing to hire and retain EAs? So the pay increases were given at the end of last school year, so those are in place now to address the hourly rates to bring them more up to the market rate for EAs and match the rates in our area. So those were addressed at the end of the 21-22 school year, moving into the 22-23 school year. And then finally, the awards.
I can address that. Thanks, Caitlin.
Yep.
So we didn't cancel the awards for the Friends of Education or Distinguished Service. We just decided to move those to a regular board meeting at a later date, just because we weren't sure how many people we were going to get here for other topics that are on the agenda. So we didn't cancel it, we just postponed it. I didn't want other agenda items to take away from those awards, so that's why we decided to make the change tonight. Okay. So then, is there anyone else that has any questions or comments regarding the budget only?
Yes.
Okay.
Jefferson Davis, do you want my address?
I don't think you need to state it. Yes, please state your address.
W169 N8630 Sheridan Drive. I hope everyone will come and use the new splash pad in our backyard next summer. These are real quick questions primarily to you, Mr. Chairman, or to the Finance Director, and they're not detailed at all. I noticed on page 20 of your paper handout, I'm old school, under the Q&A, and I'm particularly impressed with this. This is just a yes or no. It says in the second paragraph that because of Act 10, approximately $16.9 million has been saved since 2013 with the district health insurance plan. That's an accurate number, correct?
Yep.
In your knowledge? That's fantastic. Second of all, on page, I believe it's 5 on the front of your handout, just several quick yes or no's. I noticed on line number 1, under the fund description, it shows the reserve fund, whatever you want to call it, being $19 million. And it seems pretty consistent with the last couple of years. What's the recommendation of Moody's when they give you a bond rating? How much should you have in reserve? 3 months, 6 months, 9 months of spending? This seems about over half of the tax levy you're asking for tonight.
So that's a great question. So the bond rating agencies use 25% as a threshold. So we don't necessarily look at it in terms of a 1 month, 2 month, 3 month type, amount of operations, but rather the percent of the overall expenditures in that year. So 25% is the threshold for a high standard, a high rating, and we're at the 32%.
So you're talking the total budget, not the tax levy?
Correct, total
Understood.
budget, not the tax levy.
And
yes.
just above that on line 8, it says the equalized value for the school district portion of Menomonee Falls, understanding that about 40 to 50% are in the Sussex School District, has stayed consistent at $4.4 billion.
Yes.
Are we to assume that there's been no increase in the valuation in the portion of the village of Menomonee Falls in the school district?
That's a great question. No. So this number is a projection at this time, and it was an effort to remain conservative. We do anticipate that this equalized property value will increase in all of our municipality areas. So Menomonee Falls that attend our school district and in our other municipalities as well. So we can anticipate an increase. Right now, numbers that we're hearing, which we're hearing after these were printed, probably about 4%. So we do anticipate that the percent will increase from last year to this year.
Yeah, everywhere we drive in the village, it seems like something is being built, which by default would expand the tax base, not contract it. And then the last quick question is this. Actually, there's 2 quickies. So I noticed in your handout that if you're retired, after 2013 from the district, you no longer get health insurance paid for 10 years as a retiree. That's just a yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. And then the last question is the ESSER funds that you talk about, unless I missed it, can you quantify that? How much did you apply to the levy last year and how much are you applying this year in totality? Thank you.
Okay, that's a great question. So how much of the ESSER fund, the question was, how much of the ESSER funds have we applied to the levy? So it doesn't exactly work like that. So big picture, our total revenue limit is how much money we get from property taxes and state aid. We subtract out our equalization aid, which is a number that the state tells us. So we subtract out our equalization aid, and the remainder there is the tax levy. So really the ESSER funds help our overall revenue, but don't necessarily impact the tax levy itself.
So what's that total number?
The total amount of ESSER funding that we've received is $4.7 million. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments about the annual budget hearing? Is there one? Yep, please step up to the microphone.
Hello, my name is Gina Visor. West 179, North 7924, Tamarack Springs Circle, Unit 4. I'm a new parent, new to the state of Wisconsin. So my question is in regards to the Special Education Fund, which I understand is 13% of the budget. The state that I moved from, gifted education was included as a part of special education. Could you please quantify how much gifted education will receive in the 2022-23 budget?
Can you say that again?
How much, if any, gifted education will receive?
How much special education will receive?
No, gifted
Oh, I'm sorry, gifted and talented.
Right.
education.
I come from a state where gifted education falls underneath special education, and I understand that that is not the case, so I just wanted to get some clarification on that.
Got it. Thank you. That's a fantastic question, and I will have to research that for you. So if you could send me an email with that question, I would love to get back to you.
All right, any other questions regarding the annual budget hearing? I can't see. If there are, please just step up to the microphone. I'm having trouble seeing everyone in the audience. Okay, I think that's it. So now I need a motion to adjourn the annual budget hearing. Oh, we can just adjourn it? Okay, then I'm going to adjourn the annual budget meeting.
We convene immediately into the annual board.
So now we're going to convene immediately into the annual board meeting. Good evening. I'm Eric Pelzer, board president. The annual meeting of the School District of Menomonee Falls is called to order. Welcome to the September 12th annual meeting taking place at Menomonee Falls High School Auditorium, North 80 West 14350, Titan Drive. The cafeteria has been equipped with streaming services to seat audience members should the auditorium reach capacity. This meeting is being broadcast live on the Falls Cable Access YouTube channel. A later viewing will be available on our board website page. Will you please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance again? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting has been appropriately posted according to Wisconsin Statute 19.84, public notice. The annual meeting is statutorily required and provides district residents with an opportunity to critique the operation of the school district. It's also a time for the school board and administration to help the community focus on the achievements, needs, and future of the district. By statute, on or before November 1st, the school board has the duty to vote a tax sufficient to operate and maintain the school district. If the annual meeting fails to do so, or if the annual meeting votes a tax that violates statutory revenue limits, the school board must lower the tax to bring it into compliance with the revenue limit. We take specific direction on the running of the annual meeting from statute, from our attorneys, and from the annual school district meeting handbook published by the Wisconsin Association of School Boards. Joining me at the table from my far left are board member Chris Stuhlin, board member Jennifer Grant, board member Carrie Deuce, legal counsel Savion Grinnell, legal parliamentarian Mark Olson, superintendent of schools Jim Hayden, board member Melinda McShane, board member Shelley Holzman, board member Nina Christensen, director of finance and operations Caitlin Windler, and assistant to the superintendent and board, Kim Smith. Kim Smith will be recording the minutes of the meeting and serving as the timekeeper. Non-resident administrators and staff are stationed in the auditorium and cafeteria and will serve as tellers to assist with the voting. Next up are the agenda and rules of the annual meeting. Upon entering the auditorium, you should have received handouts containing paper ballots and a QR code to access the meeting agendas, a budget hearing booklet with the treasurer's report, and an information sheet detailing tonight's rules of order. Paper copies are available if you do not have a smartphone or QR code access. To be a qualified voter at the annual meeting, you must be a resident of Menomonee Falls School District for at least 28 days prior to today, September 12th, 2022. You must also be a U.S. citizen and at least 18 years of age. This meeting will be conducted according to Robert's Rules of Order. Separate seating has been designated for residents and non-residents. Individuals wishing to make a motion must indicate this by raising their hand and waiting to be recognized by the chairperson. When recognized, please move to the microphone in the aisle and state your name and address prior to making the motion. A second to the motion can come from any seated elector in the audience. Tonight's voting will be conducted either by a standing vote or a paper ballot vote for the agenda's major items. If the standing vote is inconclusive, we will resort to paper ballots. Only district residents may make and second motions, speak, and vote. Any elector has the right to challenge the residency of someone attempting to vote. If this happens, a process outlined by statute will be implemented. Residents wishing to debate or speak to a motion will be asked to come to the microphone, state your name and address, and proceed. The time limit for speakers is 2 minutes per person and shall not exceed 1 hour. An elector may speak once on any given motion. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda and rules for the annual meeting as distributed?
Hello, my name is Nina Christensen. My address is W143 and 6156 Red Oak Court. I'm a resident of Menomonee Falls School District. I move to approve the agenda and rules for the annual meeting.
So there is a motion by Nina Christensen, and there was a second to approve the agenda and rules. Is there any discussion? Oh, the second was Jennifer Grant. We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda and rules for the annual meeting. All those in favor, please stand. Good start. Okay, be seated. The motion passes. And the motion passes and the agenda and rules are approved. At the annual meeting, every resident has an equal vote. At this time, I'd like to invite school board members to join their fellow electors in the audience. Thank you. Okay. At this point, I'll open nominations for a chairperson to conduct the annual meeting. Are there any nominations?
Nathan Greenleaf, W125 and 6844 Ruby Road, resident of Menomonee Falls School District. I move to nominate Amy Ignatiak as the chairperson for the annual budget meeting.
I second the motion.
Okay. So I have a motion by Nathan Greenleaf and a second to nominate, I'm sorry, what was the name again?
Amy Ignatiak.
Ignatiak. Are there any other nominations? Whoops. Oh, who seconded the nomination?
Andrew Gus, G-U-S-S,
And your address, please?
W172N8940 Shady Lane.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Oh,
Michelle Divalvis, West 182, North 8270, Georgetown Drive. I nominate Eric Peltzer to serve as chairperson.
thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Yeah, second.
And it has been seconded by? And your address?
North 69, West 1376, Manor Hills Court.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Are there any more nominations? And are there any other nominations? Okay. So now we have to vote on these.
All those in favor of King, stand up.
Okay, all of those in favor of Amy as chairperson, please stand. Here we go. And those in favor of Eric Pelzer, please stand. Boy. Okay. I think we're going to have to go to a paper ballot on this. I saw some people standing. Is there anybody in the cafeteria?
Unless you have somebody that's going to show us, do it anyway. It looked like it was pretty easy.
I thought it was pretty even too. Okay. Yeah, I think,
Jason Klimas, Thornhill Drive, Menomonee Falls. Under what criteria did you base that decision to go to a paper ballot for that vote? Thank you.
well, the basis would be because just looking at the audience with the lights in my eyes, it looked like it was relatively close. Yeah, I think we're going to go to a paper ballot. So we can do that. What's up? Okay. All right, we're going to have order, please. Please.
So you have non-resident administration stationed throughout this trial?
Sir, I'm sorry.
You have non-resident administration in this room to help count the standing vote. Is that not an option?
It just seemed like it would be easier to do the paper ballot.
Agreed.
So as chairperson,
I mean, we can do either one. I'm not. Yeah, that's fine. Then, okay, so those in favor of Amy, please stand. Let's start taking a tally on this. And please remain standing the entire time. Tellers? Okay.
You need to go to the table.
Yep.
Would the tellers please go to the table with the tellers?
Shouldn't this go out front? Okay.
Would the tellers for each section please come by Kim so we can get the total?
have them? Okay, I think we have everything counted. You can be seated. Those in favor of Eric Pelzer, please rise.
And remain standing.
And please remain standing. Has it been counted? Okay. I think everybody can be seated. I think we got the count. All right, so there were 276 for Amy, 154 for Eric. So Amy is going to be the chairperson of the budget meeting. Is she here? Is Amy? Oh, is that her? Okay. I will give her this. Take everything else with you. You can sit here.
Yes, we do.
No, when we get to that, agenda. So this is it, and then we're stuck. Okay? Yep. He's got the agenda, and it's basically all, everything here. I would just request all those. Okay, so yeah, you should be good. So I'm going to turn the meeting over to Amy. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
You need some water or something?
If she's got one, handy, that'd be better. If not, no big deal. Yep. Hi, Mark. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much. My name is Amy Ignasiak. My address is West 171, North 9300 Briarwood Terrace, Menomonee Falls. Been a village resident and school district resident for 40 years. Attended many of these annual meetings. So I guess we're just going to move ahead so we don't waste any more time here. Our next item on our agenda is to look ahead at the new school year for 2022-2023 with Mr. Hayden here. I'll turn it over to you.
Good welcome. Good welcome. Let's try that again. Good evening. Welcome. It's my pleasure to serve the school district of Menomonee Falls as your superintendent interim for this school year. Thank you for the warm welcome that I've received. This evening, I'm going to briefly cover a number of slides. You know that I am not the main topic, the reason you're here, so we'll try to move through this quickly. But I certainly would like to highlight the good things that do occur here at the school district of Menomonee Falls. So our mission is to engage, learn, and improve. Our vision is a relentless pursuit of excellence, one person at a time. I'd like to bring up just recognize our school board again. If I'd have the school board members please stand and be recognized for their work. We appreciate the work that they do for us. Our big aims for the district.
I got it. I'll mop it up.
Excuse me. Our big aims for the district and are behind me. Again, I'm not for the clarity and the brevity of time for tonight. I'll let you all read that. I know you can. These have been the aims for the district for the last several years, and they continue to guide all of our work. We also have a series of guiding principles. We're particularly interested in the physical health and safety of our students, physical health and safety of our employees, social and emotional health of students, parents, employees, and community. We are looking at sustaining student learning. We want to make sure we do this with district financial and operational stability. We also want to make sure that we have economic stability of our employees. And we certainly want to do this with our community in support. Our guiding principles are service excellence. We do see service excellence through our guiding principle, professionalism, respect, teamwork, accountability, and communication. The triple aim of improvement in education is academic achievement, human engagement, and efficiency. With that, I would also like to welcome and have you help me welcome our new staff. This illustrious group of people behind me. Just a minute, maybe. One more. Thank you, Kim. Here's our new staff. Please help join me in giving them a round of applause. Our next one is a list of our staff members. It'll be in the presentation. You can catch all of their names. We'd also like to celebrate our teachers. The school district in Menomonee Falls will do its part to help improve the dialogue about education and teaching as a career, celebrating teaching as a profession to retain and attract teachers. This year we'll be doing a social media campaign in August through December of #WhyITeach. In December through March, we're going to do #TeachersArePros. And then finally, in April through June, we're going to use the #TeachWithMe to celebrate the great work that our teachers do. Please watch for more information in our staff newsletters and in the community newsletters. And when you see those various hashtags come up, know it's part of our effort to attract and retain quality educators. We have a series of division leaders I would like to introduce. They may or may not be here. I think they're all here somewhere tonight. First is Dr. Jana Helligenstein, our Director of Curriculum and Learning. Caitlin Windler, who you had the pleasure of meeting, Director of Finance and Operations. Leah Sculptor, who is our Director of Human Resources. Rick Fector, who is our Director of Facilities. Jason Husline, Director of Community Education, Recreation. Amy Swanson-Keyser, our Director of Communication and Community Outreach. Nikki Williams, our Director of School Nutrition. Tri Seifert, Director of Technology. Amy Reibel, Director of Quality and Analytics. And Dr. Laura Schiefer, Director of People Services. Please give them a round of applause as well. Caitlin touched on this, improving and maintaining our facilities. Obviously, it's one of our key things that we work and strive to work for every day. One of the things that my past experience as being a superintendent that I found really enlightening was that when well-maintained facilities, the students really respect those facilities and they take very good care of them. So thank you for taking time to keep our facilities looking as good as they do. We all appreciate it, and I know our students do as well. Next, our Menomonee Falls High School is in the top 6% of all high schools nationwide. We're also number 19, best school district in the state of Wisconsin by Niche Best Schools. A point to celebrate is that 60% of all of our high school students are enrolled in one of the 5 academies at Healthcare Academy, Design, Communication, and Media Academy, our Business Academy, our STEM Academy, and our Future Educators Academy. We have 114 AP scholars, and we've received over $500,000 in community scholarships for our young people this last year. We are particularly blessed to have John Mercure do a series for us called Focus on the Falls, in which he spotlights all of the wonderful things that are occurring here in the district. Please, if you've not seen it, please go to the YouTube channel and check it out. It's actually very, very interesting, and you are one of the few districts in the state of Wisconsin that is blessed to have that kind of support from the news media, and particularly John. We also would like to highlight the Menomonee Falls High School has had a number of successes at state. A lot to go through, and I will not go through those, but that's also in our packet this evening. We have also a number of other different things that we could highlight. FBLA at FBLA at Menomonee Falls High School. They are 8-time state champion. That is pretty fantastic. Coming up right behind that is our FBLA North, and there are 6-time state champions for FBLA. Would also like to highlight some of the work that we've done around early literacy in relation to the collective impact of Menomonee Falls. Again, for those that are not aware, this is a group that's been organized by the school district a number of years ago that works in tandem throughout the county with all the county leaders to help and better things for the citizens of Menomonee Falls. And one of their areas that they focused on was early literacy, and it was the Ready Readers program that we did this last year. And we'll be setting that up again this year for our different things that the group will take on. So again, you are lucky to have that support. We also are supporting our families in need through a resource reach out room, which is available at, I believe it's at Ben Franklin School. So we have a great resource for the community. And finally, just once again, I'd like to remind you that our mission here is to engage, learn, and improve for the relentless pursuit of excellence, one person at a time. Thank you very much, and on with the rest of our meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Harden. Now we'll move on to the treasurer's report. Jennifer Grant, our board treasurer, will now take a few moments to share the treasurer's annual report.
Thank you. So an annual meeting isn't official unless the treasurer gives a report. Obviously, Ms. Windler did a wonderful job during the budget hearing explaining the budget process, our 21-22 results, and our 22-23 projections, and so my report will be short. We're ending the 21-22 year with a balanced budget in our general fund, adding $30,000 to the fund balance. We began the year at nearly $19.33 million and ended the year at close to $19.36 million in fund balance. During the year, $70.3 million was received and $68.4 million was dispersed by the district across all funds. The 21-22 school year was the first of 2 years with a $0 increase in revenue limits or per pupil aids. This means the state revenue allowances have not been aligned with inflationary cost increases the last few years. The significance of the ESSER funds made it difficult for the state legislature to authorize increases to revenue limits or per pupil aids, and as such, we have appropriately utilized these ESSER funds for budget stabilization. Our medical expenses incurred in 21-22 trended higher than in the previous year, but still came in under the budgeted amount. As a self-funded and fiscally conservative district, we believe that when medical expenses come in under budget, the resulting savings should not be spent on other items in the district. A good year of medical expenses should be saved in the fund balance to protect us from bad years that might happen in the future. In 21-22, we saw a slight decrease to the high-cost medical claims and an increase in prescription drug costs. We will continue to monitor these areas carefully. We will continue adjusting district operations based on expected revenues. The 22-23 budget is the second year of the $0 increase in revenue limits, and we are planning for a balanced budget utilizing federal ESSER funding. We are planning cautiously and conservatively for the upcoming years with contingency plans in place as the level of future revenue increases within the state's 23-25 biennial budget. Finally, our fund balance of $19.36 million for general funds and special education represents almost 33% of our annual spending. This is a healthy and reasonable fund balance consistent with board policy and is an industry best practice. It reduces short-term borrowing during the year and helps protect the district since we are self-insured in our health plan. Having a healthy fund balance maintains our district's credit rating and ensures better interest rates should we need to borrow funds. Finally, this healthy fund balance also allows for prudent contingency planning given the longer-term unknowns of future state funding allowances. Of the other funds combined, like debt service, food service, capital projects, and community services, receipts were $10.8 million and disbursements were $8.9 million. In conclusion, our district continues to be in solid financial condition. I am confident that we will continue to adapt and find efficiencies in the coming years and that the cost controls that we have put in place will continue to match or exceed expectations. This completes the treasurer's report for this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Grant. Now we'll move into our action items on the agenda. The first one will be to approve the minutes of the annual budget and annual meeting from September 13, 2021. Do I have a motion? Please come to the podium. Yes, sorry, I can't see.
Nathan Greenleaf, W125 and 6844 Ruby Road, Menomonee Falls resident. I would actually like to move to amend the agenda and move item 5H ahead of item 5A, today's agenda.
I second the motion.
Okay, so there's been a motion to move agenda item 5H, 5H up to 5A,
Ahead of 5A.
ahead of 5A. And there was a second. Can I have your name and address?
Andrew Gus, W172N8940, Shady Lane.
So we will take a vote on this. Okay, all those in favor of moving action item 5H to up above to become the new 5A, please stand. So are those residents back there? Are those residents in the back? What about that? Those are all residents. Okay. But we do need to do a name. All those not in favor. Okay, you can all sit. All those not in favor of moving those agenda items, please stand. Okay, we will move agenda item 5H to be the next agenda item of 5A, and then the corresponding ones will all drop down. So, I need a motion to change the current voting method used by the School District Menomonee Falls Board member elections by changing the ballot format to numbered seats instead of at-large voting. Is there a motion to...
I make that motion. Jefferson Davis, West 169, North 8630, Sheridan Drive, Menomonee Falls. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Is there a second to change it? We have a motion and a second to change the current voting method used by board member elections to numbered seats instead of at-large voting. This vote will be conducted using paper ballots? Yes. Stand? Okay. We're going to do a standing vote first. Okay, is there any discussion on that item? And please state your name and address, sir.
Thank you. Attorney Joe Helm, W131N7955, Country Club Drive, Menomonee Falls. It seems in recent years that we've seen a distance, in some respects, a disconnect between the citizenry and their elected officials. And it would seem that there's no greater example of that than with regard to the school boards in our communities. It would also seem that this distance seems to be growing with regard to the recognition of and responsiveness to the opinions and concerns of the voters. I believe it's imperative that the voters have the most direct and effective way to elect someone to office, to hold them accountable, and to remove them from office in any given election. I have personally experienced both the at-large and numbered seats methods of elections. My early terms as village trustee here in Menomonee Falls were during the at-large method days, and my later trustee term and village president term under the numbered seat method. From those experiences, I believe that the numbered seat methodology is clearly the most effective option. Each elected official needs to stand on their own merit and their own performance, not ride on the coattails of some other popular candidate. Two candidates running for one numbered seat, requiring that each candidate proclaim what they stand for, explain how they will govern and defend their actions, giving the citizens a definitive choice who will be elected to that seat. There is no greater way to ensure that the will of the voter and the accountability of the elected official. Thank you.
Thank you. can't see.
Hi.
I'm sorry, I can't see.
That's all right. Nick Caters, N72 W12823, Good Hope Road. So I'm going to use the analogy of musical chairs to describe the at-large versus numbered seats issue. So at-large, it's like a regular game of musical chairs. You have a primary and knock some people out, but it's a little messy. That's democracy. Numbered seats, it's like the current board brought the seats to the party. They have first dibs on the seats, and they give a little booty bump to everyone as they go by so that they have an advantage. It doesn't increase competitiveness to have all of these channels where an incumbent has an advantage over the one person that they're facing off. The majority that supported this back in the July meeting, they're afraid of competition. Democracy's messy. You don't want to get elbows to get out of the lane, right? You don't want to get, you can't stand the heat, you get out of the kitchen. So to me, hearing all of the great things that the district has done, it's being mired by this rushed process for something that I don't think will actually benefit most of us. So I oppose the numbered seat change. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please. Next, please.
Hi, my name is Kova Brown, and my address is North 89 West 15791 Main Street, Menomonee Falls. I just wanted to make sure that people understand the importance of voting no today. 5 of the 7 board members who we currently have were hand-selected by the Taxpayers Association, who also came up with this agenda to make our school board elections numbered seats versus what they've been all along, which is at large. If you don't know who this group is, ask a friend. I'm sure they can guide you to someone who does. These 5 board members were also funded by the Waukesha County Republican Party. If you're hand-picked and funded by an agency, don't you become obligated to them? Of course you do, which is why we're here in this moment. By voting no, you are making sure that these elections remain fair for anyone and everyone who wants to serve in this capacity. This allows our board to be a collective of diverse minds who problem solve to serve our student body in a way that helps them receive an excellent education in an excellent school system. Thank you for this time.
Thank you. Our next speaker.
My name is Rose Clancy. I live at North 81, 13286 Fairway Court in Menomonee Falls. I have 3 main points to make this evening. First of all, before I start, I would like to thank literally everybody in this room for the time that they're taking, the interest they're showing on behalf of the students of Menomonee Falls. The first point I would make is that I have not really seen anything definitive that says this particular change will have a benefit for students. It may not, I haven't seen it. And that should be our #1 priority in selecting a change.
Please, let's listen.
My second point is that a change of this kind and magnitude deserves a much larger hearing than just this meeting tonight. It should be put out in public forums in the community for, I think Mr. Helms referenced the fact that voters in this district should have more input. And you're right, they should. And it should not be just at this meeting tonight. My third point is I was fortunate enough to work for Milwaukee Public Schools, Wauwatosa Public Schools, Mayville Public Schools, and I helped begin the Kids Inc. program here in Menomonee Falls. We have been through an incredibly turbulent year this last year, between COVID, between the elections, between everything else. And I made the point at a board meeting, I think it was back in June. Let's not make any major changes right now. We finally have a good administrative staff in place. We need time to heal. We need time to talk with each other. And this is not the way to do it. This is too divisive and is not helpful, and I urge people to vote no.
Thank you. Thank you. Gentleman here.
Hello, it's Jim Vasaki. I live on N61W14389 Brookside Drive. And this is simple. There's a lot of heated debates going on one side or another, or political agendas, et cetera. However, the very simple line for me and my family and my kids is that at large, each board member represents the entire districts. When you have numbered seats, individual members will then represent their individual districts, individual voices, individual interests, and then they will actually...
Quiet, let's listen.
Everybody gets their time, come up here to the podium. And so therefore, on the numbered seats agenda, you're going to have open and fair debates instead of closed rooms, closed board decisions. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Katrina Moldenhauer, West 160 North 8452 Donald Court, Menomonee Falls. I just wanted to say something that's not controversial. Hopefully everyone can agree with this. I do support the change that every board member will be held accountable for their actions and what they vote for and what they bring to our school district for our children. For those who are against it, whether you are a conservative, liberal, middle, I don't care. Why wouldn't you want your board member to represent you and be held accountable for what is being voted for? Our new school board wanting accountability is actually refreshing because the previous one didn't do enough. That's all I have to say. So please consider voting yes.
Gentlemen?
Nathan Greenleaf, N6844, N125, W125, N6844, Ruby Road. I got it. I promise it. Know my address. So I would just like, as a point of clarity, this is not an apportionment piece. This is not geographical districts. That is not what's happening. These seats are not going to be geographically specific. I think the statement from the board president was that that would just be too hard. And so these individual seats would then represent the whole district. What this seated system does is take choice away from the voters. If I have 3 available seats and 5 available candidates, I can pick any 3 from there. Were we to move to this seated system, I would have a up or down choice on one seat, an up or down choice on the other, and the uncontested seat would get to hold their seat without any accountability at all. So let me tell you, if you're looking for accountability, the at-large requires the candidate to present what they have done properly, what they plan on doing in the future, what good they have to offer, as opposed to a false choice between one person or another, right? That's not how you build diversity of thought in a board. That's not how you build diversity of thought within an educational system. So this change is not in the best interest of students. In fact, I recall the board, I believe it was Carrie asking that, either Carrie or Melinda asking the board president what the benefit to the children was, and there was a dead silence afterwards. So if you're looking for a better school district, a larger diversity of thought, real accountability for every single person that is up for election, leave it at large, vote no on this change for the election process. Thank you.
Thank you. Gentlemen?
Hi there. Jason Klimas, W145N5392 Thornhill Drive, Menomonee Falls. I have kids in the district. All due respect, the quote was slightly different from what you said. The president said the geographic region was complicated and confusing. There was no other statement because there was a refusal to grant any interviews to the Journal Sentinel, not only from the president, from other board members to explain this to everybody. I'm voting no. I encourage everybody to vote no. I also wish people that I know who could not be here because it's Monday at 7 o'clock on a school night are home with the kids so that they can go to bed and get to school tomorrow. I wish this was on a referendum so everybody could have had all day to come out and vote no. Instead, I'll do it for the people that I can. Thank you. I look forward to
Thank you. Gentlemen?
My name is Chris Slinker, N78W13022 Country
Quiet.
Club Court, Menomonee Falls. You know, a couple points that I want to make that others haven't made. Obviously, the lines have been drawn here. Under the current system, where you have a pooled group of candidates and the top 3 vote getters win, those 2 that did not get the most votes get put into office. Whether you agree with that or not, that is not accountability. Now, yeah, our current system, let me try to explain this so you do understand. When you run in Menomonee Falls,
Quiet. Let's have respect.
The top 3 vote getters get elected to the school board out of a pool of candidates. That's who wins, some of which have not gotten the most votes in that race. Some come in second, some come in third. If you have a numbered seat, which is not a district, the top vote getter wins. Like how we elect all of the other seats we vote for in this country, from Senate to Congress to Assembly to every other elected position. Now, the other thing I want to mention is under the current system, many of you who are opposed to this have lost consistently. Conservatives have won every single election in the last 3 terms that they've run under the current system. I'm not sure if you are a liberal, there's plenty in the room, and you think that the top 3 vote getter system is good for you, it's okay. But the truth is, this is the fairer system. 1 versus 1, clear positions of topics, not a pooled group of voters when you ask all of the electorate to have to vote for 3 of many. You think that's clear? You think that's accountable? It is not. Stand behind what you truly believe and win, and be accountable and run 1 candidate against 1 candidate. Win that way instead of trying to confuse. It's a simple choice. If you want to keep running in elections like we have, we know what the outcome has been.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, Kathy Oleg, N77W15424, Crossway Drive. I'd like to remind everyone that our district uses continuous improvement. We utilize benchmarking to consistently make our district better. So I'd like to bring up some points that Dan Rossmiller, Director of Government Relations for Wisconsin Association of School Boards, mentioned in a recent Journal Sentinel article. Least common there are 7 school districts out of 400 districts in our state that use where candidates run for a specific seat number that doesn't align with a specific geographic area. I do not see the need to align with Village Board. That is a municipal entity. We're a school district, so perhaps we should be with the majority of school districts in our state that use an at-large system. Furthermore, a political scientist or a political science professor at UW-Madison said head-to-head races also provide more incentive for candidates to directly attack their opponents. We don't need any more attack. We don't need any more division in our community. We should be united behind our students. At an at-large race, candidates might hope voters will choose them alongside a variety of other candidates, so attacking other candidates could hurt their own odds. I'm just going to read directly from the article because this is really good information. If you're competing across all other candidates, it's not as likely that you're going to be singling out one person for an attack. Rather, you're more likely to be making a positive appeal to your voters about why you should vote for me, Cannon said. Head-to-head races could also call more attention to partisan differences, he said, which could possibly benefit the majority political party. I'd encourage everyone to vote for what's best for kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Laurence Trimble. I have been a resident of Menomonee Falls for 21 years. Some of you are lifelong residents of Menomonee Falls. I came up to speak about my 21 years here. I have 4 children in this, what I consider amazing school district. And all 4 of my children, my 4th is 15, she's a sophomore this year. They're all excelling, they've all excelled academically. They've all excelled as human beings in this community. We have a great support system here in Menomonee Falls together, if we all work together and continue to leave things how they are. My point to this is it's so important to make this about the students and the kids. Leave politics out of this. This is not a political vote. Nobody gives a damn
Let her
about
speak,
politics.
please.
This is about our kids. I've put 4 through the school system. Again, they've all excelled. And I do believe that this community has helped me raise my kids to be great human beings. They're able to now leave Menomonee Falls and be able to function in places like Los Angeles, California, Chapel Hill, North Carolina. My kids can function in Florida, they can function in New York City, they can function anywhere. And it has to do with the education they've gotten here and the support that we've had in our community. And it needs to be going that way, and it has to stop being divisive. Because I do believe that if we continue to go the way we are, it's gonna go downhill. Our kids will not be prepared for their future with the road that we are trying to take. Let's just continue to do what we've been doing. We've been excelling. We've been excelling, you guys. Keep it that way.
Thank you. Gentlemen?
William Gadamuller, West 173, North 8916, Apple Blossom Lane. I am a senior at Menomonee Falls High School. You may have seen me. I believe I was on the presentation. I was not here for it, but I believe I was on the presentation. So you know that, like, I'm actually here. Now, I cannot vote in this election, although I wish I were about 3 months older because I would be voting in it. I do want to say, however, that I was very conflicted over what I actually wanted us to proceed with. I wasn't sure if I was going to go with voting yes. I obviously can't vote, but endorsing yes or endorsing no. Now, that might be quite a surprise to some of the Republicans and more conservative voices in my community, as many of you guys know that I am not conservative. But I asked myself the question, what supports the students like myself the most? I looked at numbered seats. I see that we do numbered seats in Congress and for the presidency and for everything, really. But this is a local election. Local elections are not federal elections. We're looking at a completely different demographic. We're looking at our students, not America as a whole. So I asked myself, what is more important, what is most important for democracy? Like, what method works best for our democracy? And then the answer was very simple. The answer is, we cannot vote for this. This is a terrible idea that will bring away diversity from our schools, that will bring away diversity of thought from our board, and will force us into single-party authoritarianism of our board. It is true. It is true.
All right, let him finish, please.
And I know Slinker does not like that. I know he does not, but it is true. I endorse and I support everyone voting no for this decision. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Danielle Benetti, N62W14449, Rolling Ridge Drive. So I've heard throughout the evening a few times about how it's important that the candidates stand on their merit all by themselves, tied to no one else. But I asked then, why did the last 3 candidates run all together in the last election? Why did 3 candidates feel so strongly that they needed to band together? And why is that different now? Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Jefferson Davis, West 169, North 8630, Sheridan Drive, Menomonee Falls. I would like to speak in the 2 minutes that I have left from 3 perspectives. This is a unifying opportunity for this community to come together over this issue. Number 2, this is for the kids. And number 3, if we do have, which we fortunately don't have in Menomonee Falls, an administration team that goes rogue when it comes to critical race theory or mandating.
Please.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying, if we have that issue come up, if we have mask mandates or jab mandates or the 1619 project or defund the police, and we teach that.
Please respect.
I think I showed respect for all of those people that are making that noise. I would ask that I get 10 more seconds, please.
What?
I've been interrupted several times, ma'am.
Continue, please.
Thank you very much. So when you look at that perspective, what is best for the kids? What is best for the kids is the administration, the parents, the teachers, and the students. What is best for them? To come together on whatever the issue is. I just named 4 or 5 of them that seem to be popping up every single day, and it's not good. Thank goodness we don't have that here in Menomonee Falls. Number 2, what do we do if we have an administration that does go rogue? And we've got board members that say, well, that's okay. They can just do what they want. I'm not saying that's what happened in Menomonee Falls, but it could under the current system. And then finally, can we just stop with the name calling and the insinuations and the diversions and the distractions? And
please.
Thank you. Can we just come together and just have an open, frank, honest, candid conversation? We may not agree, but can we agree to respectfully disagree? Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Thank you. This is Jody Lau. I live at 154 and 6245 Marvel Drive. I have a daughter who is an 8th grader, and I have a son who just entered 4K. I'm going to go off the record a little bit and say, critical race theory, really offensive. Please don't do that. If you really believe we need to come together, please look up what it actually
Can you
is.
please address?
And the fact that it is not taught in elementary school.
Please address the CD number question.
Sorry, I'm sorry. This is getting a little frustrating. I think one thing, and it's been discussed a couple of times, but the word is optics. Why now? Why are we changing things now? I don't think we've got a good answer to that. I have not heard anything that tells me this is a good reason to make a change. I don't think we should do it, and I hope the majority agrees with me.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Michelle Divelbus, West 182, North 8270, Georgetown Drive. Last spring was my 5th election, so 9 years serving this community. And you have to bear with me. If you've watched the school board meeting before, you know I get emotional. I would have loved to have one direct challenger to come against my 9 years service to this community. But that didn't happen. They ran as a block. I was left out in left field, right field, whichever field you want to put me in. They didn't have to challenge my record. I would have loved to have a numbered seat. They would have had to choose me to come against my service, my records, my votes for the last 9 years. That's why.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Can't tell. Can't tell. Go ahead.
Hi, Grace Howard, W186 and 8869 Duke Street. I've been thinking about this vote thing for a few weeks since I saw the recording of the board meeting where they proposed it and had a little discussion about it. And I'll admit, at first I thought, yeah, numbered seats, that seems good, right? Because of some of the points other people have made today about one against one, and you can go and look at that person who was the incumbent and go after them individually. But I will tell you that on further thought, I just don't think that the one-on-one is really going to get the best. It's like the cream isn't going to rise to the top. If we think about if there's, someone gave an example earlier of 5 people for 3 seats, the 3 people with the most votes get the seats. As opposed to, let's say, for example, in race number 2, you have 2 terrible, terrible options. One of those terrible people is going to win that seat. But when it's vote for the best 3 that you like, you get the best 3 that everybody likes. And that just makes more sense to me. And my second point is that I think, pardon me, the last thing we need is an opportunity for more adversity and fighting. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pelzer?
So Eric Pelzer, North 95 W16587 Richmond Drive in Menomonee Falls. Boy, look at what I did. So I'm just gonna start out, and I want to start a little bit higher upstream. And you know, I've had this question asked: how does this benefit the kids? And I would say this: I think the single most important thing in a representative republic is how we elect our representatives. And all I really wanted to do by bringing this to the public is to have this, to have everybody come to this meeting to voice their opinion, to give their reasons why they wanted it one way or the other. And that's what I did. For me personally, I thought a numbered seat system was a better system. Now, I've been accused in email, social media, of wanting to maintain power and wanted to, you know, make a career out of sitting on the school board. I can assure you nothing could be further from the truth. And just to address, I believe another speaker came up and accused several board members of being funded by the Republican Party. I can assure you that I spent about $1,000 of my own money running my election to serve the community. I didn't receive a penny from anybody else. I'm not beholden to anybody else. So I wanted to state that publicly. One point that wasn't really brought up but was touched upon, that the reason that I wanted numbered seats is because I felt like it would create a more stable board. And here's why. I think a numbered seat system disincentivizes people from running as groups and as blocks, and actually compels every candidate to run as an individual for an individual seat. That was my reasoning behind it. That was my logic behind it. Some agree, some disagree. I think we need to keep the debate civil. I'm happy with the conversation that we've had. And, you know, everybody should just vote their conscience. I think that's what this is all about. It's what this country's all about.
Thank you. Next speaker.
John Boer, W147N6910 Woodland Drive. I move we end debate and call the question.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. So I'm not doing standing vote?
Can I have one quick thing?
I'm looking for a motion to limit debate and call the question. Are you making the motion? Yes. To limit the debate and call the question. Chris Slinker? And so we will need a 2/3 vote on this for the motion to call the vote. So we're voting on Mr. Slinker's motion to call the question. Okay, those in favor of calling the question, please stand. Let's see, darn thing. I think I have 2/3. Pardon me? Okay, so do I need to do, because that's 2/3, right? Yeah. Okay, that lists 2/3, so we will call the question. So we'll go back to the original motion. We have a motion and a second to change the current voting method used for our school district Menomonee Falls board member elections to numbered seats instead of at-large voting. If you are in favor of changing the current board member election process to numbered seats, please stand. What would you like to do? Do it the other way. Okay, I think we'll go to a paper ballot. You should have those in present. Do I get to vote? There's yellow and green. What? I don't know. It's not white. It's either green. Use the green. I'm sorry. Use the green.
It's not. I can't. Come to the mic. I can't hear you.
Yeah, because this is what we have. We're given. That's what I thought.
Parliamentarian, please explain the process by which we switched to paper ballots. It was not posted. All that was posted was that it was a vote. We stand up, we have what looks to be an outcome, and now we're switching to paper. Please explain.
Go for it. Yeah, please.
Yes, sir. I think we want to have an accurate...
Sorry, I was addressing the parliamentarian, so
I have no problem.
back. Yes, thank you.
We'd like to have an accurate count here, and the only way to do that without counting like we did before, because it looks like it may be close, is to have people...
No, but that's not what was posted on the website, that it looks like it may be close. So,
Mr. Parliamentarian.
Yes, sir.
The ballots distributed were not numbered. How many ballots?
We're not what?
Were not numbered. How many ballots were distributed?
3.
Only residents of the district got a ballot.
Right, 3. Standing vote if you want me to. And then we'll decide from there.
Only residents of the district got a ballot. Yes, sir. Only residents.
Those are them.
Only the residents of the district got ballots.
He can't hear you.
I am advised that only residents of the district were given ballots. People who are not residents were not.
3 ballots.
So you're saying, sir, that people could be voting twice?
All right, let's do a standing vote. Let's do a standing vote. Standing vote.
Okay. Yes,
All right,
sir.
please. Please. We're going to do a standing vote.
Yes.
Order. All right, please.
The reason for the ballots was so that they could be counted, and each individual resident was given a ballot after they showed the ID. Why is there supposed to be every mention of it?
Please have a seat. Everybody have a seat. Hang on a second. Hang on a second. Okay, please return to your seats. We will do is take a standing vote. Again, we will have, if you are in favor of changing the current board member election process to number seats, please indicate by standing, if you want to change the number of seats, by standing now. Please, can I have the electors count the people? I can't see them.
Let me make a point. There's been a few questions about who's a resident, who's not a resident. There is a statutory process. You can challenge an individual in here who you believe is not a resident, and that individual has to swear an oath that they are. So we're going to follow the process and do the standing votes. We're going to count them, and then we're going to proceed in the process accordingly, okay?
We have everybody sign in and show their ID to be a resident. I would like to know what the total number is, and I would like to compare that to the standing vote total at the end. I would like to make that motion.
Do we have those numbers? Do we have those numbers? We already have a motion on the table right now for a vote. Okay, please count the standing votes.
Before we can do that, everybody hold up their ID when they stand, hold their ballot up when they stand.
Can you please order, please? People are counting. Some people are holding chairperson.
These were in favor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Here, we're going to report to Kim. Where'd she go? Yeah, where's she out there? Still coming back now.
Ready.
I want to make sure she's got them all. Kim, you have them all? Okay. Can I? Okay. Quiet, please. If you were not in favor of changing the board member election process to numbered seats, please stand. And remain standing as you get counted. Not yet. From what I can see. Those will go fast. No, that's good, Jack, I think it was. I mean, I was here, but I was the elementary PTA now. Sorry, folks, remain standing. If we could have quiet, please. Can I have them all sit? Please sit. Okay, we have the results here of the standing vote. Total possible votes was 469. Yes to changing to numbered system, 157. No to not changing to numbered system, 312. Quiet, please. Quiet, quiet. The motion is carried. The vote has carried, sorry. 312, the nays 1. We're moving on to the next agenda item, the approval of minutes. If you could please, if you're going to exit, please exit quietly so we can continue our meeting. Next item on the agenda is approve the minutes of the annual budget hearing and annual meeting from September 13th, 2021. Please exit quietly. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Can't see it.
Red mic. Red mic.
Red mic.
82 North 8270 Georgetown Drive. I make a motion to approve the minutes from the September 13th, 2021 budget hearing and annual meeting.
We have a motion and a second to approve the...
Nathan Greenleaf, N684, or W125N6844, Ruby
I
Road.
think they had to do it for a second. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the September 13, 2021 annual budget hearing and annual meeting. All those in favor, stand. Oh yeah, I can't see, sorry. Remain standing and let everybody else leave. Do 9. We're waiting till everybody else leaves who has chosen to leave. All right, so those of you who are standing or approving the minutes, all those, please sit. All those who do not want to approve the minutes, please stand. The minutes have been approved. Move on to our next agenda item, the management and disposal of school district property. This includes like land or buildings, smaller items like trading in a truck or selling old furniture or recycling computers, etc. Do I have a motion?
Hello, my name is Julie Biksadsky, and my address is N91W16112, Junction Way, Apartment 106. I am a resident of the Menomonee Falls School District. I move to authorize the school board to manage and/or dispose of school district property as needed.
Do I have a second? Yes. We have a motion and a second.
I'm Cecilia Lilligard. I live at North 54 West 14490 Thornhill Drive. Proudly a member of the school district and I support.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to authorize the school board to manage and dispose of school district property. All those in favor, please stand. Please be seated. Those opposed, please stand. That motion is approved. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is to set salaries and authorize the reimbursement of travel expenses for board members. Do I have a motion to set the salaries for board president and board members and to authorize travel reimbursements for board members?
Yes, madam. My name is Julie Milligan. My address is N77W15154 Crossway Drive. I am a resident of the Menomonee Falls School District. I move to freeze the school board salaries at the current rate of $5,000 yearly for board members and $5,500 for the board president, and to authorize reimbursement to the board members for travel expenses incurred in the fulfillment of board services.
Is there a second? Thank you. There is a motion and a second to set the school board members' salaries at the rate of $5,000 yearly for members and $5,500 for the president, and to authorize the board members of travel expenses incurred in fulfillment of board service. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of freezing those salaries at that rate, please stand. Thank you. Please sit. All those opposed, please stand. That motion has been approved. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is to authorize the School District Menomonee Falls Board of Education to lease suitable buildings for a period not extending 20 years for annual rentals fixed by the lease. Do I have a motion?
Hi, my name is Tina Poznansky, and my address is N60W13376 Tall Old Court, Menomonee Falls. I am a resident of the Menomonee Falls School District. I move to authorize the School District of Menomonee Falls Board of Education to lease suitable buildings.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, John Moore, W147N6910 Woodland Drive.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second to authorize the school board to lease suitable buildings for a period not exceeding 20 years with annual rentals fixed by the lease. Is there any discussion? Please come to the microphone.
Hi, I'm Cecilia Lilligard. I live at North 54 West 14490 Thornhill Drive. I'm just curious what the definition of suitable building is and why they would want to do it. Are you guys the one to ask that of, or can it be part of the record to find out later?
Caitlin, could that be?
Yeah. What do
you address that?
Can you say your question? Oh, no problem. I authorize the board to lease suitable buildings. What do you mean by suitable? Why would
That
you
is
do
just a term that, this is a term that's used if we were going to look to leasing buildings. It's just a standard thing. We aren't looking at this particular point.
Okay.
But it does give the board the authorization if that ever came up.
Okay.
But
Will,
at this point,
will it become an opportunity like this or at a board meeting to find out? Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have that motion and a second on the table. We'll take the vote now to authorize the school board to lease suitable buildings. All those in favor, please stand. Thank you. Please sit. All those opposed, please stand. Thank you. The motion has been approved. Next item on our agenda is to authorize the School District Board of Education to lease sites not needed for school purposes. Do I have a motion?
Hello, my name is Katie Welke, and my address is West 132 North 6011 Merrick Road. I'm a resident of the Menomonee Falls School District. I move to authorize the SDMF Board of Education to lease sites not needed for school purposes.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to authorize the school board to lease.
Name, please.
We would like your name and address, please, for the second.
Denise Sitchy, C-I-C-H-Y, N94W16026 Richmond Drive, Menomonee Falls. I am a resident of
Thank you. I have a motion and a second to authorize the school board to lease school district sites not needed. Is there any discussion?
One quick question. Ron Yeager, W148.
Can you come to the microphone? Because this is being taped.
Ron Yeager, W148 and 7736 Menomonee Manor Drive. I'm new to these kind of meetings. I'm just curious, is this a one-year authorization? Are these things that are done every year and renewed so that we're not given a blanket authorization for eternity?
It's a 1 year.
1 year.
It's done at every annual meeting.
Are there any sites,
no,
any property of the school that's up for right now?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you. There has been any more discussion? Sorry. It has been moved and seconded to authorize the school board to lease school district sites not needed for school purposes. All those in favor, please stand. Thank you. Please be seated. Those opposed, please stand. 3, count 3.
3.
Okay, the motion has been approved. Next item on our list is the tax levy resolution. Prior to this annual meeting, a budget hearing was held where a thorough explanation of the proposed 2022-23 budget was presented. I am now looking for a resolution on the tax levy. Is there a motion?
I am Brad Hoffman. My address is W142 and 6349 Mill Ridge Drive. I'm a resident of the Menomonee Falls School District. I move to approve $34,853,489 to be levied on the taxable property of the School District of Menomonee Falls, County of Waukesha, Wisconsin, for the purpose of defraying the operation and maintenance of the public schools for the 2022-2023 school year.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second, Michelle Michaelvis, West 182, North 8270 Georgetown Drive.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second to approve $34,853,489 to be levied on the taxable property of the School District of Menomonee Falls, County of Waukesha, Wisconsin, for the purpose of defraying the operation and maintenance of the public schools for the 2022-23 school year. Is there any discussion? If so, come to the microphone. No discussions. It has been moved and seconded to approve that $34,853,000. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Mike Heidrich, W154 and 8167 Valley View Drive. I'm wondering how this levy is going to compare with last year's.
I can answer that. This levy is 5% lower than last year's levy.
That's right. Thank you.
Is there anybody else? Any further discussion? The discussion's closed. Let's see. It's been moved and seconded to approve $34,853,489 to be levied on taxable property of the School District of Menomonee Falls, County of Waukesha, Wisconsin, for the purpose of defraying its operation and maintenance of the public schools for the 22-23 school year. All those in favor, please signify by standing. Please be seated, please. Those opposed, please stand. Those opposed, please stand. One in the back.
Carrie.
All right, that motion has passed. The 22-23 tax levy is approved. The next and final item on our agenda is to authorize the School District Menomonee Falls Board of Education to set the date and time for the 2023 annual meeting. Is there a motion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Melissa Kemp, W158 and 6523 Pawnee Court. I am a resident of the Menomonee Falls School District. I move to give the school board the authority to set the date for the 2023 annual meeting.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Please name and address.
Julie Mulligan, N77W15154 Crossway Drive, Menomonee Falls. I am a resident.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to authorize the Board of Education to set the date for the 2023 annual meeting. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor of this motion, please stand. Please be seated. All those opposed, please stand. This motion is approved. We have arrived at the end of our annual meeting agenda. There being no further business, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Ian Dickman, N74 West 13737 Appleton Avenue, Unit 305. I make a motion to adjourn.
And a second? Thank you. There's a motion and a second to adjourn. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please stand. Please be seated. All those opposed, please stand. The 2022 annual meeting of the School District of Menomonee Falls is adjourned. And we will convene for the regular Board of Education meeting in 5 minutes. Thank you for joining us for the budget hearing and the annual meeting. Have a safe ride home if you are not staying for the regular meeting. Board members, please return to the stage in 5 minutes. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm gonna hold. This works. What's the time? 8:30. 8:20.
Regular Board of Education meeting at the School District of Menomonee Falls. This is located at Menomonee Falls High School, North 80 West 14350 Titan Drive, Menomonee Falls, Wisconsin 53051. This meeting will be broadcast by Falls Cable Access and can be viewed live on the Falls Cable Access YouTube channel. To watch a later viewing of the recorded meeting, please visit our website, www.fallsschools.org/board. This will be a regular meeting of the Board of Education. Kim, has the meeting been properly posted?
Yes, it was.
Thank you. And the only action item, or two action items, the first one is vouchers payable. And
I have that.
Okay.
I move to approve vouchers payable through September 8th, 2022 in the amount of $65,461.25.
I'll second.
Okay, it has been moved by Chris Doolan and seconded by Jennifer Grant. Anything you would like to share, Chris?
Sure. It looks like there were funds spent on landscaping, getting preparations for homecoming. Vouchers consisted of sports fees, food service purchase, fence rental for the high school stadium, and fence repair for high school soccer, and $6,874 for a Gaga ball pit for Valley View School. And that's about it.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Doolan? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Next is the minutes approval, and you know what? I don't have the dates. Kim, do you have the dates handy?
Yeah, it would be the board meeting minutes from August 22nd, and then there was a board closed session meeting from August 29th.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the August 22nd, 2022 Board of Education meeting and the August 29th, 2022 closed session meeting.
Okay. Okay, it was moved by Jennifer Grant and seconded by Nina Christensen. Anything need to be amended on this? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, great.
Wait,
Whoop.
I am going to abstain as I was not
Oh, I'm
present
sorry.
on August 22nd.
Okay, and then Melinda McShane is abstaining because she was excused from that meeting. Thanks, Melinda. I forgot about that.
Thank you.
Okay. And next, lastly, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
It was moved by Melinda McShane. Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Carrie Deuce. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.